Welcome to Designing with Purpose. This is a conversation about architecture, but more importantly, it's about the people and organizations buildings are meant to serve. I'm your host, Kyle Stuart, and in each episode, I sit down with the leadership team at Thrive Architects to talk through the decisions and challenges and realities behind complex projects, from senior living and places of worship to commercial spaces and high-end residential projects. Now, our goal on the show isn't to showcase projects or just sell ideas. It's really to share how experienced architects like the team at Thrive think, so people like you can make clearer, more confident decisions long before a project ever begins. So today I'm joined here in the studio by firm principal Jeremy Bartlett and associate principal Dave Raschka. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Yeah, doing great.
Good. You're looking good too. Today we're going to jump in and talk about the complexities of architectural projects and how Thrive intentionally guides their clients through these complexities from start to finish. So, Jeremy, I'll start with you. What are these common problems, the complexities and bumps in the road that you see from working with clients over the years where they maybe say something like, wow, I didn't expect this to be so complicated?
Yeah, I think probably the number one thing I hear the most is I didn't expect that the process would take this long to go from the start to the finish. There's a lot more bureaucracy and a lot more approvals. There's a lot more time in the planning that goes into it that people just don't anticipate. I think they see a little bit of what we all see on like social media feeds, and they think, "Oh wow, look how fast that got built. Look how that got put together." And there was so much behind the scenes planning that just nobody was aware of.
So you don't just snap your fingers and the project is done.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah. When you talk about some of the bureaucracy type things, can you get a little more specific with that? Expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'll kick it to Dave on that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that every community in the area, well, I mean, nationally, every community has different standards and different processes for how they approve projects. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is on the front end. There can be plan commission, architecture control board. There's a lot of different steps in the approval process, and the community or municipality that you're building in drives a lot of that. And they set the timelines where you have to get submittals in a month ahead of time so staff can review it before they'll even meet to discuss it. They may require multiple meetings, so that can draw a project out 2 or 3 months before you even get the community to sign off and green light you to move forward into construction documents.
Yeah. Okay. So Dave, yeah, I'll stick with you. Where do you see project complications that surprise clients the most? Is it also the time it takes, or are there
Yeah.
other things?
Yeah, definitely. Time is a big one. I think just in general, we're governed by the building codes, and I think there's a lot of surprises that come up with that. There's a lot of nuance to it as far as accessibility, energy codes, different regulations and requirements. And I think clients are sometimes surprised by all of the kind of those hoops they have to jump through on a construction project. I know we spend a lot of time in senior care, and that has its own set of codes, for the RCACs, CBRFs, DHS oversees all that. And they have specific guidelines for each type of building and an additional layer of bureaucracy on top of just the regular building codes that I think sometimes people are surprised by, or people aren't familiar with it. We do this every day. So I think we have a good handle on all the different types of code issues that are going to come up and help walk clients through that. But it does surprise them because they just don't deal with it on a daily basis.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, most people aren't up to date on all of the codes and regulations and don't necessarily think about what all goes into that when they start a project. So that's where you guys come in. So, Jeremy, what does Thrive bring to the table that eliminates the need for clients to worry about these kinds of surprises in projects?
Well, expertise. I think, I'll speak for Dave and myself. I mean, we've both been doing this for quite a while. I mean, the gray hair starts to show that, right? But no, we and I don't know, like I'm more of a radio guy, not a video guy. But hey, here we go.
Got
So,
the
but no, really, honestly, experience. I mean, I've been through. I mean, how many architects out there, honestly, know that there's a bunch of memos that the Department of Health and Family Services just puts out there that aren't even code, and they do interpretations of the code, and they know to track and follow that. I mean, that's something with us, like in senior care, we're on top of all those things because we're actively doing it all the time. So it keeps us and our clients out of trouble. It's having gone through and experienced a certain issue on a project and being able to take that experience into the next one. I think that's where, experience matters a lot. And our team I have a veteran team here where all the leadership here is around that senior age that's had a lot of experience.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback. Yeah, the experience is important, and I think we've got a handful of licensed architects, and we work very collaboratively. Even though we've got 3 different offices, scattered around the state, we're still talking every day. We're still exchanging ideas. Each of us has our own kind of specialties and certain project types that we might have a little more knowledge on. But it's very collaborative. We're always checking things with each other, sending questions through. Like I kind of think this is how we should do this, and getting feedback. So it's very collaborative, and having decades of experience between all of us, I think, helps a lot in that.
I want to piggyback one other thing on that. If we can piggyback,
to go.
Is that all of us on the leadership side of this have been together longer than Thrive Architects has even been around. We had all worked together in previous life experiences at other firms. And so collectively, with the time we've all been together here, plus the time we worked together in other organizations, I wouldn't say we're finishing each other's sentences all the time, but we kind of know each other well enough to know what each other's thinking without having to say it. So that's a big deal. I think people underestimate, clients that is, probably underestimate really the team that's on the other side of the table. They don't know when they're contacting firms to work with. They don't really know how long that firm and the group has worked together and how good their collaboration is. Yeah. But I'm telling you, that comes out in our work, and it's an important thing to express, and without talking about it, like we get the opportunity here today to do, like you can't really put that in paper and explain it very well.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, that you guys have kind of that double layer of experience, not only the longevity of time in the industry, but also the time you've worked together collaboratively you just can't, that doesn't happen overnight. Obviously it takes time, and a huge thing that you bring to the table for clients. Jeremy, you touched on something earlier about saving clients from getting into trouble because you keep up with the regulations and the memos that get put out. Can you briefly describe some of the risks that you take out of the equation for clients because of, like, what are the specific risks, or how could they get into trouble?
Like I said, I mean, there's extreme examples, and I can get way into the weeds, and I know that's not the intent today, but there's interpretations of the code that are happening from government agencies that, I mean, they affect total occupancy and use of a structure. For instance, a code that was put out there, a code interpretation that was put out there in the last 2 years was that even though the International Building Code allows for nursing homes to be built like on a first floor level, separated by 2-hour construction from a RCAC above, that our state will not accept that. And so basically, you could walk in, start designing a whole project, spend like $40,000 to $80,000 of a client's money, start to get in with DHS, and then find out, oh, we can't even put this building together and get approved. I mean, that's a big deal for for anyone to know about. And honestly, it's not published. It's not, and I say it's not published. It's out there on the internet, but it's not published in the code books. And so if I walked in this blindly, being maybe my first or a few projects in, I probably don't even have any idea that this exists. So that knowledge is invaluable.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, you're saving clients time and potentially a lot of money as well by knowing this going into a project, even though the overall project may take longer than they initially anticipated. In the long run, you're probably saving them time because of your experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So real quick before we close, can you kind of walk us through, Dave, I'll start with you, walk us through the process kind of getting started working with Thrive and how you eliminate the risk and handle these complexities we're talking about from the get-go. What's kind of the process?
Yeah, I mean, typically when a project kicks off, there's client meetings. Well, whether we're doing design build with a contractor or we're doing a bid project where it's going to be bid out to multiple contractors at the end. The client communication having them come in or meet virtually and talk through their wish lists and kind of what they're trying to achieve. And again, using our experience and knowledge for past projects on kind of steering that conversation and making sure that this is something that we can get approval on and what are the restrictions going to be, and kind of helping them kind of shape their project into something that's actually achievable.
And then Jeremy, if somebody is having these kinds of questions come up in their own project, or they're thinking about beginning a brand new project or maybe adding on to an existing one or something like that, what's the best way to contact you to get started?
Yeah, I mean, we like a consult meeting. Reach out. We'll set up a meeting. Doesn't cost anything for that kind of thing. We can really start to guide the project. There's layers to just putting together the proposal on the front end and the costs and figuring out what services are actually needed on a job. Every project actually has different services that are needed. I don't even know if clients know that. You may not need, your community may not require a site lighting photometric plan. And therefore, that's not something that we necessarily have to include in the services, or, there's a million variables. So we like to sit down and go through it, come up with a game plan, set up a schedule, and start to get the process rolling.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that is all we have time for today. Thanks a lot, you guys, for your time and sharing some of your expertise. We'll be back again with a fresh episode soon. But thank you all for joining us today. Thanks for listening. This has been Designing with Purpose, and we will see you next time.